Hey there, Tracy here. How's it going? In today's video, we are going to do this monochromatic Christmas card with some goodies from the Not Too Shabby shop. So let's jump into the video and do this super easy card. Okay, so what I have here is from the paper pad, and yes, I do have a scrap. So I've got the paper pad special delivery that came in the paper club of the month. And I'm going to be using the little presents here. And then also from that, I'm going to be using this sort of light brown polka dot. And then the paper with the little birds on it. And I'm going to use the polka dot paper as my mats. So I am using I want to say Sketch 8 from Kendra's Card Challenges number 20. Just adding my own twist with the polka dots instead of, solid matte layers. So I'm going to cut the first layer, and then I'm going to try and use the scraps from that to cut the kind of crisscross that goes on it. So it looks like this one needs to be about 1.5 by 5, and the other one needs to be 1.25 by 4, excuse me, or something close to that. Anyway, you'd have to look at the sketch. And I will link Kendra's Card Challenges down below so that you can see the specifics to Sketch 8. Then I'm going to go ahead and cut down my first layer, which is my background layer. And I'm going to make that with the little birds. So that's going to go like so. And then I'm going to cut down the presents as the crisscross. And it looks like I need to go, I wish I could see that. It looks like that's 1.25 by 5. And then I'll cut the cross section. So the first one needed to be 1.5 by 5. So sorry about that. And then this one will be 1.25. No, this one's 1/2 inch. So I'm trying to cut it so I get, a good portion of the presents on there. It's hard to get a 1/2 inch, but it's 1/2 inch. So the other piece was, 3/4 of an inch. Okay, now we'll get here. We will get here. All right, I've got everything cut that I need. So I'll go ahead and start putting it together. And I'm going to use a white card base for this, and I'm going to use my liquid glue. Let me get you zoomed in a little so you can see what I'm doing a little better, and you can admire that lovely paper. I absolutely love the browns in this paper and the neutral colors with the little presents and stuff. I just think it's very elegant. So we'll lay this layer down onto the matte layer, and the matte layer is 4 by 5.25. No, it's 3.75 by 5. And then the next layer is 1/4 inch smaller, so 3.5 by 4.75. So we'll get this layer down, and I do want to pop these up just for some added, oomph, because it is a Christmas card. So we'll get this layer down straight, and I love the polka dots as a matte layer. I just think it's fun, but it's still, it's not too whimsical because of the colors. Now I have cut this one too wide. It needs to be 3/4, and I had cut it down to 1 inch. So let's just narrow that down a bit. And get that one glued down. This couldn't be an easier or more favorite sketch of mine, just because, you do get to showcase at least 2 kinds of paper, but even more if you want to. Which I did. So I've got those pieces ready to go. I'm going to go ahead and get my little circle ready to go, and I'm going to do the Merry Christmas from the family from the Stamp of the Month. And I'm going to stamp that in probably Vers Fine Clair in a matching color. So it happens that most of the time the papers I get from Not Too Shabby shop, I will have an ink to match them. I'm just going to lay this down here because I will be cutting it out with a circle die. And let's grab a magnet just so it doesn't move on me. My little sticky Isn't quite as sticky as it used to be. I've gotten too much glitter on it. I'm going to be using, oh golly, I can't see that, but I'll list it in the description. I want to say it's sand something. Desert sand or sandstorm or something. Go ahead and get that stamped down. And my apologies, friends. I have been really, really sick. So my brain is just like, yeah, I'll function, you know, to the max that I can do, but it isn't very good. All right, so let's grab some circle dies here. And I want one that'll fit that and one that's a little bit bigger for my matte layer. And I am going to have to get into another chunk of my paper pack because I don't have a polka dot piece big enough, and I want to be consistent with that. So I'll just grab another one. No biggie. Use your stuff, friends. Use it. And I'll just go ahead and trim this up, and then I'll just slip that other piece right back into the paper pack. And we'll get these cut out. Just move some stuff aside here. And friends, I haven't sped anything up here or cut anything out just because I'm doing the bare minimum. My brain can't do anything more. All right, let's find a piece of tape here, and I'm going to tape this little piece down so it doesn't move on me and stays centered where I need it. The other one I won't need to tape down because, well, it doesn't need to stay centered. It just needs to stay on the paper. And I'll just cut these bad boys out. I love this little die cutting machine that I can keep right on my desk. Very, very handy. All right, let's get these out. Move that aside. Okay, get everything where I need it. Looking at my layout here. I love this stamp set. I really, really do. I like it. I like anything kind of postage. Yep, that's perfect. I love it. All right, let's grab some foam here. And I'm going to start by laying down my first pieces onto my card base, I think. Do I think that's what I'm doing? I don't know. Let's see here. Yeah, I'm going to pop these up first. Just in case something needs to be trimmed, I can trim it, because otherwise, if I lay that down, glue the bottom piece down onto the card base and they need to be trimmed, it's rather difficult to trim them. So I'm just adding some foam strips here along this pretty sturdy piece. It's nice sturdy paper, and it's doubled up, so basically I don't need a ton of foam to support it. So I'll glue this piece down just with some liquid glue. These are my defective little strips that don't have tape on the back, which I find not defective whatsoever. They're my favorite. Just because I have some wiggle room. So we'll lay this piece down, and I'm just going to stand the card up and make sure it's nice and even, at least at the top edge. And then I need to modify how I do my strips, and I see this is a little bit off here. I need to modify how I do this strip because I need just some on the very end and on the other end, and I need to leave that open space for it to crisscross over top of the first layer. So I'll put a couple tiny pieces here, and then I'll put the rest from the bottom of the sweater down, and I end up going too high and having to trim it off again. Great aim, T. Way to go. You said the bottom of the sweater, girl. I'm serious. All right, we'll get a little one down here. And, of course, good thing I sort of tested, and good thing this stuff doesn't stick without sticky. And I'm like, wait, why doesn't this fit? Oh, yeah, because, duh. Let's trim those off. I'll just gently peel them back and grab my little scissors, trim them off until they are where they needed to be in the first place, which is at the bottom of that sweater. There we go. Okay. Now I can go ahead and glue this piece down. Just checking placement where it needs to be, checking my sketch. Let's get another piece right here, that other part that I had dropped off and flicked away without thinking. I see it sitting there, don't you? So every once in a while, you know, I'm not afraid of color. I like doing a lot of color, but every once in a while, I like doing a monochromatic card. Especially, you know, when I've got such a fabulous paper pad and matching ink. It's just, to me, they're just more elegant at one color-ish, one color group. You know, we've got lights and darks and in there of the same color, and some grays and some neutrals. So, okay, now this is all trimmed off. I can glue it down to the card base. Good grief, T. So go ahead and add some liquid glue and get that glued down. Trying very hard not to sniffle here. I got hit with a double whammy, friends. And let me tell you, I've been doing a lot of sleeping, which, you know, isn't a bad thing. So we'll make sure this is good and stuck down. And I'm still putting pressure there on that centerpiece because, you know, it's on the foam, and foam takes a minute to get, you know, adhere to something else if it's done with liquid glue. So I'm just going to add my stamp to my little circle mat layer, and then I'm going to just take one piece of foam and pop that up a little so that it's even with everybody else, even adjacent anyway. And then now I'm going to add some liquid glue because this black stuff does have sticky, just so I can make sure that I set this down on here straight. And then I have plenty leftovers to do the inside of the card. So there's what the outside looks like. Isn't that such a fabulous sketch? I just love that sketch. And we're going to open it up and let's do some stuff on the inside. I'm going to grab a piece of scrap here, one that I cut wrong or it's just a, you know, a cast off, and I'm going to go ahead and cut a little fishtail into the end. You know, friends, if you tell yourself you can't do these, practice, because I'm getting better and better at them with practice. I have a little, you know, punch that does them, but the punch is selective and kind of hard to work with. Like, it won't work with a short piece, so really doing them by hand is going to be the answer. And then I'm going to find my 1-inch circle punch, which is here somewhere in the pile of punches, and I'm going to punch out some of these little birds. So I'm going to just kind of move this around, move the little window around, decide which bird I think I want. I can't really get away with just getting one bird, so we'll get two. And then I'll just lay that little circle down on my flag, and that card will be finished. Inside and out. Of course, I don't have an inside sentiment, but I don't typically, so that's fine. There's the card. So I'll have everything listed in the description box down below. As usual, don't forget to leave me a thumbs up. And if you're not already subscribed to my channel, please consider subscribing. Hit that notification bell so you get notified every time I upload a new video. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.